want to look at creating a fractal that has been discovered by Dr. Janine Mosely. It's being called the Mosely Snowflake Sponge Fractal. And it starts out with these boxes, which are made from business cards, and they're folded into these cubes. These cubes are held together just by being folded. There's no adhesives to this. Dr. Mosely realized while she was letting her son play with these boxes that they would interconnect, and that began the trend to build Menger sponges out of these. And you can see various places on the internet where people talk about these building projects. Something related to this project is the Mosely Snowflake, which instead of taking out the center cube when you have a cube, you take out the corner cubes, leaving the center cube in place, and so you get this cross effect on this side. But you do that all around the cube, you end up with a cross on each side, and as you remove the corners of each of the smaller cubes, you get this more intricate design. So that's what I'd like to do. I would like to build, similar to this, the Mosely Snowflake Sponge Fractal out of these boxes. Now, one of the problems that some people have in these building projects is that it's not always easy to come up with a lot of business cards. One of the ways that you can get around that is to take greeting cards, because these are card stock, and you can measure out and cut up greeting cards so that you can have a lot of cards and not necessarily be business cards. If you look around the internet long enough, you will probably also come across that some people just use playing cards, or I've even seen Pokemon cards used to build these types of projects as well. Being that those cards are larger, your entire project becomes scaled up as well. So you need to keep space in mind. If you're going to use a larger card, your final project will be a scale factor larger than the projects that use the business cards. The business cards make some fairly nice projects. So that's what I'd like to do. One thing that you can do to hide these flaps is you can connect a card in there to cause flat surfaces if you want it to have a more finished look. I put some of those on there too, like I want on my project to have this card on there so that I have some information labeled on there. So that's what I'd like to do. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to show how to make the individual cube. We'll connect a couple, and then I want to have a final Mosely Snowflake Sponge Fractal. Since a cube is a six-sided regular polyhedron, we're going to need 6 business cards or business card size cards to begin with. You're going to use one card to start out with your measuring. You want to try to center the one card over the other. So we want 90-degree angles in these corners here, and then you're going to use that to fold these up. Now keep in mind that you have this kind of staple look to it. This is going to be the outside face. So these flaps face away from the face that shows. Now, not a lot of the face shows. You only get maybe about 1/3 of this square that's going to show here. A little less than 1/3 actually. So you're going to make 6 of these to begin with. Once we have these 6 cards folded, we're going to place one on the desktop with the flaps facing up, and then you're going to set a couple of these so that the flaps face inward. And then we're going to weave these sides in. Now as I flip this, you're going to see that flap slides in underneath there. Alright, and then for the card on top, we're going to weave this in. It's a little unstable until you get the final card in there, and then it should be a bit more stable. So there we go. We've got all the flaps weaved around there. So we have 2 boxes now. So how do these fit together? Well, notice they don't fit together well this way, where I have that these and these touch each other like this. But if you rotate this box 90 degrees, now you see that these are meeting where this will slip into there. And then on this side, you want to do the same thing. Now, when we just have 2 boxes, we can cheat a little bit, open those flaps, and slip that in there. When you get your project rolling, it's a little more involved because you can't always get the flexibility that you need. So there we go. Those 2 are connected, and it's a pretty tight connection. And you'll make several of these boxes and want to weave several of these together. The reason I removed this card when I fold this flap over is my concern is not as much about the centering here as getting this 90 degree. That's why I make sure that I set that so that when this card is in here, the second flap, these folds run parallel to each other. And the important thing is that you're getting close to center. It doesn't have to be exactly center, but close enough is good enough on this. For this one, I'm just going to cheat this a little bit, and I'm going to build it in place. So once you get the pattern and the idea, you could potentially do the same thing. You could build those in place. So now I've built the box, and it's connected already. And this is my final Mosely Snowflake Sponge Fractal. Any face that you look at, you get this cross pattern with the corners removed. So we see that on each side. And then if you can imagine, for each of the smaller cubes, you can remove the corners as well, and you can create the fractal at infinite levels as you go. So this is my model, and since I didn't have enough business cards to build this, I just cut up some different boxes that we had that otherwise would have been recycled. So this is a way to reuse and to have this model. Hopefully this has been interesting for you. Cheerful Calculations.